and welcome to Viewpoint. My name is Volodymyr Solhub, and right now I'm joined by the former Deputy Chairman of the State Fiscal Service of Ukraine, Mr. Kostyantyn Likarchuk. Mr. Likarchuk, welcome to Viewpoint.
Hi.
Mr. Likarchuk, you left your government job with somewhat of a scandal back in September, and ever since you were unearthing the facts of corruption within your former office. Is this retaliation?
No, I don't think so. First of all, I started explaining what was happening in the State Fiscal Service long before my departure, beginning approximately since July, when at the meeting with the President, which was publicly basically announced and broadcasted, I raised several concerns about the return of former people into the customs service and certain schemes which were which had some place in the customs service, and asked for his support in fighting all these things. So it's not any kind of retaliation. It's just the result.
But it doesn't look that you received this support from the president, because after all you were forced out of the office.
Well, it's up to you to judge. It's very difficult for me to say whether there was this kind of support which was actually required.
Yeah, well, actually, had you received the support from the president, most likely you will still be doing your job, right?
That's a logical conclusion.
Understood. So, there are a lot of, as I said, you are unearthing the corruption facts, corruption schemes within your former office. And under normal circumstances, in the country with the rule of law, there will be one of the two scenarios. There will be either a criminal investigation opened into these accusations, or the people who are you blaming, charging with corruption, would file a defamation suit against you. Nothing has happened in Ukraine. Are you surprised?
Well, I cannot say that nothing happened, because the investigation was started, actually, and last week I was interrogated by the Kyiv Oblast Prosecutor Office. So I cannot say that nothing is happening. I'm not certain what the outcome of this will be, but I hope that at least certain facts which are currently undisputed, and for example, this week, Mr. Nasirov has basically acknowledged that he has undeclared property in London. I think that at least these facts need to be investigated, and in normal countries that would be basically the end of political career.
Yeah, but again, this is a normal country. But when we're talking about the undeclared property of a government official,
yes,
currently it is not a crime. This is just something which he did not provide on in his tax returns, actually, basically.
There are two legal consequences to that. First of all, it's a crime, and the relevant norm of the criminal code became effective at the end of April. With his return, the declaration was filed in the beginning of May. So it's a crime since May. And at the time when he filed his return, it was already a crime. That's number one. And number two, it's the reason for so-called lustration. I'm not certain how it is in English, but basically it means that under Ukrainian law, he cannot occupy his office for 10 years.
So basically, it looks like a clear-cut case.
Yes.
The government, the head of fiscal service, acknowledged he has undeclared property. It is a crime. He should be fired. It
is a crime, and it is the reason for firing him according to the law on cleaning the government.
And this is not happening because there is no political will.
I think so.
Understood. Yeah. So, well, we're very interesting. Mr. Likarchuk, another question which we would like to discuss with you is the recent appointment of Ms. Yulia Marushevska, a 26-year-old activist and a graduate student in literature and history, as head of Odessa Regional Customs Office, which is one of the largest customs offices in agencies in Ukraine.
That's correct.
first of all, let's discuss some technical procedures. There was no mandatory competition for this position. Why is this happening? What is happening there with all this?
Well, in my view, there was a kind of competition, but you have to appreciate that if you undertake normal, regular competitions here in this country, it will take you 6 to 7 to 8 months to complete, according to all rules and norms. And I think it's done intentionally to for people to be able to bypass these competitions and explain this reasonably and logically why they do so. That's number one. With regard to Yulia's appointment, I think that the main reason is that Mikhail Saakashvili needs some support and needs some support at the customs office. He has been in the office, in his office as Odessa governor for how many? 5 months already. And he has not yet obtained full control of the customs office, which I think is crucial and vital in the Odessa region, because it's one of the key bodies to manage basically the promises which were given by...
But Mr. Likarchuk, how can a person so young and without the relevant professional education had a huge government office?
Well, we'll see. We'll have to see. In my view, this appointment is political, and political appointments are sometimes done despite certain professional issues. And I don't think it's a problem, actually, in Ukraine, because if you take any professional customs officer, you don't know what kind of connections he has, what kind of influences people may have on him or her. For example, take the previous actual head of the customs office, Ms. Arefyeva, who was charged with taking bribe, basically, of $50,000, and she was 32 years old. She wasn't much older than Marushevskaya, and she was professional customs officer, and it resulted in her hiding from justice currently.
So the logic of the government is you appoint people who were free of government service, who did not have any prior experience, even despite the fact they did not have a professional experience. Let's give it a try.
Not exactly. I think that political appointments are done in a way that basically the politician responsible for certain region, for example, like in this situation, must be also responsible for the outcome of her activities. So basically, if Marushevskaya does something wrong, directly or indirectly, Saakashvili is responsible. That's basically the responsibility that he takes, publicly and transparently. And I cannot say that she does not have experience of governmental service. She has 4 or 5 months experience now as deputy head of the Odessa governor. With regard to professional education, that's something which is disturbing, of course, but it shouldn't be something which should basically take her out of her post.
Is it also possible that she's being just a front person, and the real business will be done by the team behind her?
I think that's not exactly the case. I think that she will be actually managing the office, but she will receive support from other people. That's for sure. I cannot say that she will be a front office, or a front person, or whatever. There is no reason for me to say.
Yeah, but obviously she needs a team of professionals to help her run it.
But that's very different from being a front person. Any manager needs support of the team of professionals. When I came into the office, I also needed quite a lot of support of the team of professionals, because I didn't have prior experience in the customs. So it's not surprising that she needs that.
Understood.
But whether or not she will be able to kind of independently lead the Odessa office, or independently in the with the help and support of Saakashvili, that's another question.
Yeah, Mr. Likarchuk, my final question, very brief if possible. In your view, what is needed to stop the corruption within your former office, within a state fiscal service?
Only one basically thing is needed, is political will.
Yeah, well, looks like this is something which is needed for all the Ukrainian branches and to stop the corruption in the entire Ukrainian government.
It's not very difficult, Mrs. Sologub, it's not very difficult to stop corruption. If there is political will, it's done within 3 to 6 months. In the customs service, at least.
Understood. Well, we'll be looking very closely at the case of the state fiscal service as well as the other government agencies. Mr. Likarchuk, many thanks for finding the time to come and talk to us. This has been Volodymyr Sulov for Viewpoint, together with the former deputy chairman of the State Fiscal Service of Ukraine, Mr. Kostyantyn Likarchuk. Thank you for watching us.